I jerked awake, clutching sheets that smelled wrong. Whose hand were these? My heart slammed against ribs that felt too narrow, too young. Sunlight slashed through half-closed blinds onto a wooden floor I had never seen. A ceiling fan spun lazily above a bed that was not mine. I sat up fast, the room tilting, and caught my reflection in the cracked mirror across the room. Dark hair, freckles across a nose that belonged to someone else, wide green eyes staring back like they were accusing me of theft. 22 maybe, not the 55-year-old Ethan who had coded on a hospital gurney in Chicago last month. The calendar on the wall said March 12th, 1997. New Orleans. I knew the date because in my old life I had replayed this year 1,000 times in regret. Marcus. His name hit me like a fist. The jazz trumpet player with the crooked smile who had once looked at me like I was the only safe place in the world. I had let him go because I was terrified of my father's belt, terrified of the South, terrified of being the faggot the whole block would whisper about. Marcus had left for New York thinking I never loved him enough. He died in a car crash on I-10 in 2003. I carried that guilt until my own heart gave out. Now I was inside Liam Reynolds, a part-time bartender and wannabe painter whose lease was paid till June. The wallet on a nightstand confirmed it. Louisiana driver's license, library card, a crumpled receipt for 2 café au lait at Café Du Monde. My hands, Liam's hands, shook as I opened the closet. Jeans, flannel shirts, a single suit that smelled like mothballs. No wedding ring. No photos of a wife I had married to please my family in the old timeline. Just a sketchbook filled with half-finished charcoal drawings of the same face. Marcus's. I stumbled into the tiny kitchen. The radio crackled on, some local station playing. Do you know what it means to miss New Orleans? The irony punched me in the gut. I had one chance, one body, 1 year before the mistakes repeated. I had to find him before the misunderstanding that tore us apart the first time ever happened. The phone rang. I stared at it like it was a bomb. On the 4th ring, I picked up. Liam? You alive, man? A voice I recognized from 1,000 memories. Marcus's best friend, Trey. We're meeting at the Spotted Cat in 20. Marcus is bringing that new trumpet piece he wrote for you. Don't flake. My stomach dropped. Marcus was already thinking about me. In this life, Liam and Marcus had been circling each other for weeks. 2 guys who smiled too long across the bar, who shared cigarettes on the levee, but never said the word. I had the power to change everything, or ruin it faster. I splashed water on my face, borrowed Liam's beat-up leather jacket, and stepped into the humid March air of the French Quarter. Tourists already drifted past in bright shirts. Street musicians tuned up. I walked fast, boots slapping cobblestones, every sense screaming that this was real. The smell of beignet and river mud, the distant call of a tugboat, the weight of a second chance pressing on my chest like a promise and a threat at the same time. By the time I reached the Spotted Cat, the band was already warming up. I pushed through the door, and there he was, Marcus Hale, 24, tall and lean, skin the color of strong coffee, trumpet resting against his thigh like an old friend. His eyes found mine across the smoky room, and something electric snapped into place. Recognition. Not just Liam's recognition. Something deeper. He smiled that crooked smile I had dreamed about for 30 years. Hey, stranger, he said, voice low and warm. You look like you saw a ghost. I almost laughed. If only he knew. We sat at the corner table because Marcus liked the acoustics there. He ordered 2 chicory coffees without asking what I wanted. He already knew Liam's order. That small detail almost broke me. In my old life, I had spent decades wishing I had paid attention to the little things. Now every detail felt like a gift I didn't deserve. You've been quiet lately, he said, long fingers tapping the table in 4/4 time. Something eating you? I wanted to spill everything right there. The hospital bed, the regret, the way I had watched his funeral for the back row in 2003 because I was too ashamed to sit with his family. Instead, I shrugged, just thinking about the future. Marcus laughed softly. Future's a dangerous word in this town, especially for guys like us. He didn't say the word gay. He didn't have to. In 1997 New Orleans, the word still carried weight, like a match held too close to dry grass. We talked for hours. He played me the new piece on his trumpet right there at the table, soft and slow, a melody that felt like it had been written for the man I used to be. When he finished, the bar had gone quiet. People clapped. Marcus looked at me like he was waiting for a verdict. "It's beautiful," I said, voice thick. "It sounds like home." His eyes softened. For a second, I thought he might reach across the table. Then Trey slid into the booth, laughing too loud, breaking the moment. "You two gonna stare at each other all night, or what?" Later we walked along the Mississippi levee. The river rolled dark and wide. Marcus lit a cigarette, offered me one. I took it even though Liam didn't smoke. The nicotine steadied my nerves. "I keep thinking about leaving," he said quietly. "New York's calling. Got an audition lined up for next month. But something's holding me here." He glanced at me sideways. "You ever feel like you're supposed to be somewhere else, but the universe won't let you go?" I swallowed hard. "Every damn day." He stopped walking. The wind off the river tugged at his coat. "Liam, whatever this is between us, I'm tired of pretending it's just music and coffee." My heart hammered so loud I was sure he could hear it. This was the moment the old Ethan had run from. The moment I had let fear win. I stepped closer. "Then don't pretend." Marcus searched my face like he was reading sheet music he hadn't written yet. Then he kissed me, soft, careful, right there under the moonlight where anyone could see. It tasted like chicory and second chances. When he pulled back, his eyes were shining. "I don't know what's different about you lately," he whispered, "but I like it." We walked back to my apartment, holding hands in the shadows. For the first time in 2 lifetimes, I felt like maybe the universe had forgiven me. But the universe, I would learn, still had receipts. The next weeks blurred into something dangerously close to happiness. We spent mornings in my tiny kitchen making eggs while Marcus hummed scales. Afternoons he posed for me while I sketched him in charcoal, trying to capture the way light hit his cheekbones. Nights we lay on the roof, listening to the city breathe. He never pushed for more than I gave. He sensed the ghosts I carried even if he didn't understand them. My new family started to notice. Liam's father, a retired NOPD detective, called twice a week from Baton Rouge. "You still hanging around that musician crowd?" He'd grunt. "People talk, son." I kept my answer short. I couldn't afford to lose the fragile peace I was building. Then Trey started acting strange. He'd show up unannounced, eyes darting, asking questions about where Marcus and I went at night. At first I thought he was just protective. Then one Thursday, he cornered me outside the bar. "Look, Liam, I like you, but Marcus is my boy. If you're just playing around, you need to tell him now, before he quits that New York gig for you." I stared at him. "I'm not playing." Trey's face twisted. "You know what they'll do to him if this gets out? His mama's church lady's already whispering. And your old man? He finds out, he'll ship you back to Baton Rouge in a body bag." The threat landed like a punch I remembered from my first life. I had let people like Trey scare me once. Not again. That night, I told Marcus everything I could without sounding insane. Not the reincarnation part, just that I had lost someone important once, and I wasn't losing him. He listened, then pulled me into his arms. "Whoever he was," he murmured against my hair, "he's not here. I am." For a while it worked. We grew braver. We danced at a quiet house party in Bywater. We kissed in the back row of a movie theater showing Romeo and Juliet. I started painting bigger canvases, color flooding back into my work for the first time in either life. Then the letter arrived. It was slipped under my door at 3 a.m. No stamp. Block letters. "Your daddy knows. Leave town, or we make sure everyone knows what you two are." I burned it in the sink, but the damage was already spreading. Marcus's mother called him home to Gentilly that weekend. When he came back, his face was tight. She said the church is praying for me, praying the devil out. He tried to laugh, but it cracked. I held him on the couch while he shook. In my old life, I had never been there for moments like this. I had run. This time I stayed. We made a plan. Marcus would take the New York audition, but only if I came with him. I could paint anywhere. We could start over where no one knew our names. It felt possible, until Trey showed up drunk on my doorstep 2 nights later. "You think you're special," he slurred. "I told your father everything. He's on his way. And I told Marcus's boss at the club too. They're firing him tomorrow. You ruined him, Liam. Or whoever the hell you really are. The betrayal hit harder than any punch. Trey had been Marcus's friend since grade school. In my first life, he had stayed silent while Marcus left town broken. Now he was actively destroying us. Marcus stood in the doorway, hearing every word. His eyes, when they met mine, were full of questions I still couldn't answer. Liam, what does he mean? Whoever you really are? I froze. The secret I had carried since waking up in this body suddenly felt like a live wire. If I told him the truth, that I was Ethan wearing Liam's skin, he might think I was crazy. If I lied, the crack between us would widen into a canyon. Before I could speak, headlights swept the street. My father's truck. My father didn't knock. He kicked the door open, face red, fists clenched. Behind him, two of his old patrol buddies loomed like shadows. "Get in the truck, boy," he growled at me. "We're fixing this tonight." Marcus stepped between us. "Sir," with respect, "he's not going anywhere." My father looked at Marcus like he was something stuck to his shoe. "You the reason my son's confused?" The next minutes were a blur of shouting and fists. I threw myself on my father when he swung at Marcus. We crashed into the kitchen table. Glass shattered. Neighbors yelled from windows. Someone called the police. When the sirens came, my father and his friends scattered. Marcus had a split lip. I had a black eye and cracked ribs. But we were still standing. The police took statements. They looked at us both like we were the problem. "You boys need to keep it quiet," one officer muttered. "This is New Orleans, not San Francisco." After they left, Marcus sat on the floor among the broken dishes, head in his hands. "I can't keep doing this," he whispered. "Not if it costs you your family. Not if it costs me mine." I knelt in front of him. The truth burned in my throat. "Marcus, I'm not who you think I am. Not completely." He looked up, eyes wet. "Then who are you?" I told him. Everything. The hospital in 2025. The guilt. The way I had watched him leave the first time and spent decades wishing I could take it back. I told him I woke up in Liam's body with one mission, to love him right this time. He was quiet for a long time. Then he laughed. A broken sound. "You expect me to believe you're some ghost from the future wearing my friend's skin?" "I know how it sounds," I said. "But every song you wrote for me, I heard it 30 years ago. The melody you played at the Spotted Cat last month, you called it second line for Ethan. You never told anyone that name. Because in my life you wrote it after I was gone." Marcus went very still. Slowly he reached out and touched my face like he was seeing me for the first time. "That song, I never played it for anyone but you." The silence stretched. Then he pulled me close. "I don't understand it," he said against my neck. "But I feel it. I felt something different in you since that night at the bar. Like you already knew me." We stayed like that until dawn. The next morning we made the choice that changed everything. Marcus turned down the New York audition. Not because he was scared, but because he refused to run. "If we're doing this," he said, "we do it here." Out loud. I sold every painting I had finished and rented a bigger place on Esplanade. We painted the walls bright yellow because Marcus said it reminded him of hope. I called my mother in Baton Rouge and told her the truth. She cried, but said she would talk to my father. It wasn't forgiveness yet, but it was a door cracked open. Trey showed up one last time, sober and ashamed. He apologized. Marcus forgave him. I didn't. Some betrayals you carry forever. You just learn to walk with the weight. Summer came. We marched in the first small pride parade that year, just a handful of us, but it felt like the whole city was watching. Someone threw a bottle. Marcus caught it and kept walking, trumpet slung over his shoulder. I held his hand tighter. On a humid August night, we stood on the levee again. Fireworks from some festival painted the sky. Marcus turned to me. "I still don't understand how you got here," he said. "But I'm glad you did. You saved me from becoming the man who left." I kissed him under the exploding lights. "You saved me too. Twice." Years later, people would ask how we lasted when so many didn't. I never told the full story. Some truths are only meant for two hearts. We grew old together in the same city that once tried to break us. Marcus played trumpet until his fingers ached. I painted until my eyes gave out. We buried each other's fathers and danced at each other's nieces' weddings. We fought and made up and built a life that looked ordinary to everyone else, but felt like a miracle to us. And every March 12th, we went back to the Spotted Cat, ordered 2 chicory coffees, and listened to whatever young musician was trying to find his song. We tipped extra and whispered the same promise. We got it right this time. Personal reflection. Looking back at Liam and Marcus's journey, I realized second chances aren't about rewriting history. They're about refusing to repeat the same fear-driven mistakes. The story taught me that love between two men in a world built on silence demands courage most days and forgiveness on the hardest ones. No grand speeches or perfect endings, just two people choosing each other again and again, even when the world pushes back. If anything lingers, it's this: don't wait until your last breath to fight for the person who feels like home. Say it now. Stay now. The universe might just hand you the body, the year, and the courage to finally get it right.